This is Chapter 3 of the book, The Sixth Extinction by Marko Vovk. The link is below. This is a sample of the AI video chapter. As the Anunnaki ship approached Earth, its sensors pierced its outer atmosphere, revealing a veil of floating nanoparticles. Enlil, the charismatic pilot, began analyzing the upper atmospheric composition, detecting a complex mixture of gases and particles.
Fascinating, Enlil announced, his voice booming through the ship. The upper atmosphere contains nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide, and trace amounts of other gases. However, these readings show high levels of aluminum oxide, barium, strontium, carbon, and sulfur.
Rain needs particles. Water vapor clings to them, forming clouds. Without sulfur from volcanoes, Earth would be dry and lifeless.
Oceans fuel evaporation and trees release vapor through transpiration. Both fill the air with moisture for clouds.
What about these metals? How did they reach the atmosphere?
These metals come from burning fuels, factories, ships, planes. Each leaves residual pollutants behind.
In 2025, jets burned JP-8 fuel containing aluminum, barium, and strontium. 30,000 flights a day left exhaust trails in the sky. JP-8 fuel came from oil. Oil is derived from the remains of ancient microscopic plants and animals, primarily algae and zooplankton. These remnants were buried under layers of sediment millions of years ago and transformed by heat and pressure into crude oil. The black, heavy liquid is refined for use in jets, ships, and cars. Burning this fuel polluted the air.
Where did all this oil come from?
They drilled deep underground. In 2025, Earth had approximately 1.6 trillion barrels of oil remaining. Oil was one of Earth's largest commodities. Control over oil often sparked conflict.
They fought wars over oil?
Yes. According to Earth's data, there have been at least 10 major wars described as oil wars in the world, including the Iran-Iraq War, Gulf War, Iraq War, Chaco War, Biafran War, and conflicts in the Niger Delta. The total number of deaths from these wars is estimated in the millions, with the Biafran War alone causing about 2 million deaths and the Gulf War up to 100,000. Millions of humans die from fighting for dead plants and dinosaurs.
How many vehicles use this fuel?
In 2025, Earth had 39,000 commercial aircraft, 100,000 ships, and 1.4 billion cars and trucks. Most ran on petroleum, which came from oil. The crew fell silent, absorbing the scale of Earth's fossil fuel addiction. Jets used many fuels. Jet fuel types are chosen based on temperature and safety needs. Jet A1 is used for cold flights, which means flying at high altitudes or in cold climates where ordinary fuel might freeze. Military planes use JP-5 because it has a high flash point, making it much safer on aircraft carriers where fire risk is high. For Arctic operations, planes use Jet B, which remains liquid at low temperatures, such as minus 76 degrees Celsius, preventing fuel from freezing.
Humans saw these jet exhaust fume trails as contrails or chemtrails. Some believed in secret plots.
Conspiracy theorists claimed the trails spread viruses or controlled populations.
Before the JFK assassination, a conspiracy was defined as a secret agreement between two or more people to commit unlawful acts. After 1963, the term conspiracy refers to beliefs that powerful groups secretly plot to achieve hidden goals. The word conspiracy became a tool to silence doubters.
The definition changed. People who questioned the news or truth were labeled conspiracists.
The real goal of why humans added metals to the atmosphere was for weather modification. Humans learned to manipulate their climate. Thousands of patents exist for weather control inventions. A patent gives you exclusive rights to your creation.
So invent it, patent it, and you own the skies?
These are the big players. They fly planes, run ground generators, and deploy the latest tech to make rain, boost snowfall, stop hail.
How did they learn such things?
From us. Our ancestors, the Anunnaki, came to Earth to mine gold. We aerosolized gold and released it into our atmosphere to shield against the sun's radiation when our orbit brings us close. We created humans to help mine, build cities, and cultivate the land. They must have learned climate enhancement from us.
Humans studied our ancient hieroglyphic scrolls and artwork. They deciphered Sumerian, Egyptian, and Mayan records. By the 1900s, they began changing the climate with machines. Cloud generators made snow and rain. Rockets launched nanometals into the sky. Radar and ionic sky heaters moved storms and steered tornadoes away from cities and nuclear plants. They used giant ocean ships burning kerosene bunker fuel to create dark clouds. Ionic heaters expelled floating soot particles, forming or pushing clouds and shifting jet streams. Some countries, such as China, redirected what they called rivers of water vapor to deserts, helping crops grow.
Precipitable water is the vapor above you, about 12 gallons. Near the equator, a river in the sky circles Earth, bringing rain to crops and lakes.
China built mountaintop furnaces to make silver iodide for rain. They increased rainfall over an area 3 times the size of Spain, turning dry land green.
They tried cooling the planet by dumping sulfur from balloons, copying volcanoes. Bill Gates patented the idea.
They kept these projects secret, calling anyone who spoke out conspiracists. During the Vietnam War, they sprayed Agent Orange, destroying forests and poisoning millions.
Agent Orange was a toxic herbicide, a blend of chemicals designed to strip away jungle cover. From 1962 to 1971, the U.S. military sprayed more than 19 million gallons of it across Vietnam, enough to cover the entire country over 4 times. They used aircraft in missions called Operation Ranch Hand and had planes nicknamed Patches for these runs. It didn't just kill plants. Agent Orange contained dioxin, one of the most toxic substances known. It ruined crops, contaminated water, and left behind a trail of illness. The Vietnamese government estimates up to 4 million people were exposed, and as many as 3 million suffered illnesses, cancers, congenital disabilities, and other diseases. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs presumes that any American who served in Vietnam was exposed and at risk.
What happened to the people who made it?
Many companies made Agent Orange, including Dow Chemical, Monsanto, and Kodak in Rochester, New York. Workers at these plants and residents in nearby towns developed illnesses. In Niagara Falls' Love Canal neighborhood, dioxin contamination caused a wave of illness and forced families to flee their homes.
So the danger wasn't just in Vietnam?
Not at all. Dioxin from Agent Orange manufacturing contaminated rivers, soil, and air in the U.S. and Canada. In New Jersey, the Diamond Alkali plant left the Passaic River so polluted that it became a Superfund site. Workers at plants in West Virginia and New York developed cancers, chlorachin, and other diseases years after exposure. The people making Agent Orange sometimes didn't know the risks. They just knew their towns were getting sick.
They almost annihilated an entire country and poisoned their people, too.
What happened with Agent Orange is a warning about the hidden costs of secret projects and toxic technology.
What about the aluminum oxide, strontium, and beryllium we're detecting in Earth's atmosphere? Was that safe?
No. Aluminum and other metallic or chemical particles fell back to Earth with gravity and rain, polluting food and water. People got sick, but most illnesses weren't documented, and many who were affected never knew the cause. The most common problems included respiratory issues, neurological symptoms, skin irritation, bone disorders, and in the case of beryllium, chronic lung disease and cancer. Strontium could cause bone disorders, if radioactive, while beryllium exposure was known to trigger serious lung inflammation and skin sensitization.
So the aluminum got into people's bodies?
Yes, it built up in the body, sometimes acting almost like a parasite. One rare illness that appeared was called Morgellons disease. People reported fibers poking through their skin, intense pain, fatigue, and strange crawling sensations. They would pick at these fibers, trying to remove them with baths or creams, but nothing seemed to work. The disease first appeared in the early 2000s and was marked by fibers in the skin lesions, fatigue, pain, and cognitive problems.
Did doctors believe them?
Most of the medical industry dismissed Morgellons as a psychiatric condition, often blaming drug use or mental illness. Many patients were told it was all in their heads, or that drugs like crack cocaine or methamphetamine were involved. These drugs also lead to skin picking, sores, and scabs.
Why do meth users pick at their skin so much?
Methamphetamine's how the brain works. It can cause a sensation called formication, like bugs crawling under the skin. People call them meth mites or crank bugs. To get relief, users compulsively scratch and pick at their skin when there's nothing there. This leads to a dried up open sore.
That sounds painful, but do they eat their scabs?
It's rare, but it does happen. Some meth users believe that traces of the drug are in their blood and by extension in their dried up open sores. They might eat them, hoping to get another high, though it doesn't work. Others do it because meth can cause obsessive-compulsive behaviors like pica, the urge to eat non-food items. The psychological effects of meth are powerful and can lead to bizarre, self-destructive actions.
That's disturbing. What happens to people who keep picking and eating their scabs?
It's hazardous. Open wounds can get infected, leading to serious health problems. Chronic picking can cause permanent scars, and consuming dried blood can spread blood-borne diseases. It's a cycle that's hard to break, made worse by the drug's hold on the brain.
So the scabs could make them high again? That's unbelievable.
They used weather modification for many reasons, didn't they?
Yes. During Chernobyl's meltdown in 1986, radioactive clouds carrying dangerous isotopes like iodine-131 and cesium-137 spread across Europe. The Soviets saw one of these plumes heading straight for Moscow, a city of over 8 million people. To stop it, they used a massive system called the Duga radar, nicknamed the Russian woodpecker. Originally, it was built as an over-the-horizon radar to detect incoming missiles, but it could also be used to heat the ionosphere and influence weather.
The woodpecker sent out powerful microwave pulses, about 10 per second, at very high energy levels. When these microwaves interact with the ionosphere, they create artificial plasma layers and heat the surrounding air. By focusing this energy, they could create high-pressure zones that changed wind patterns. During the Chernobyl disaster, they used this method to push the radioactive cloud away from Moscow and toward rural areas in Ukraine and Belarus.
How does heating the ionosphere move clouds?
When you heat the ionosphere with microwaves, it excites the particles in the air, creating plasma. This heated air rises, altering air pressure and potentially shifting wind currents. The Soviets used truck-mounted microwave generators to beam energy into the sky in specific patterns, punching the atmosphere to steer the radioactive cloud.
But by saving Moscow, they just sent the problem somewhere else.
That's right. Moscow was spared, but villages in Ukraine's Zhytomyr region and parts of Belarus ended up with significantly higher radiation levels. Over 400,000 people lived in areas where soil radiation was 15 times above safe limits. Thyroid cancers and congenital disabilities increased for decades after.
Chernobyl's reactors powered the woodpecker system. After the meltdown, the radar went silent, but its effects on the atmosphere and the people remained. It shows that humans learned how to redirect disasters, but not how to prevent them.
They mastered weather. 30,000 commercial flights a day, all guided by one system. Most people don't realize this system exists. The Global Air Navigation System, GANS, doesn't just manage flights. It also manipulates weather and controls which fuels airplanes use. Planes can burn specialized additives in their engines to release particles that seed clouds or suppress rain, depending on the agenda. If a country needs more rain for wheat production or to prevent famine, flights can be rerouted to encourage cloud formation and rainfall. If drought is the goal, planes can emit aerosols that block sunlight, or wildfires can be intensified, like those in California and Canada, by diverting rain away for months.
They've done this before?
Absolutely. Look at Hurricane Harvey in 2017. It stalled over Texas, causing catastrophic flooding and wiping out entire neighborhoods and towns. When corporations or governments want to reshape land, they can park a hurricane over an area for days, destroying existing structures and making way for new development. The humans would use artificial intelligence to assist them so they can optimize the impact, ensuring the most vulnerable areas are hit hardest while strategic assets survive.
So it's a weapon disguised as logistics.
Always has been. The Anunnaki designed it to centralize power. Control the skies, you own the water. Control the water, own the food. And no one questions the disasters. They're too busy blaming climate change. Satellite logs show 87% of natural disasters since 2025 align with GAN's rerouting patterns. The system is invisible until you know where to look. Jets drew clouds with trails, then microwaves shaped storms. Droughts, floods, fires, all engineered.
If they stole rain for deserts, didn't other places dry up?
Yes. Fires force people into crowded cities. Their methods backfired.
Humans polluted the sky with aluminum, ozone, and fluorinated gases. This trapped heat, causing the Earth to warm up, and they called it global warming. When man's predictions failed, they renamed it climate change.
Propaganda. Fear lets governments control crowds. They warned of drowning coasts, then built cities there anyway.
So climate change was a lie?
Not entirely. But truth got lost in the power grab.
Then cities started taxing people for breathing. They called it a carbon tax. If you drove a car, heated your home, or used electricity, you paid up.
Countries like Sweden, Canada, the UK, France, Japan, South Africa, Chile, Switzerland, and Ireland all taxed carbon emissions. The more you polluted, the more you paid.
China rolled out social scores in Wuhan. During the COVID-19 pandemic, only people with high scores were allowed to leave the city. Singapore, South Korea, India, and Russia used similar systems to control movement.
Kind of like what we did with the humans we created several 100,000 years ago. Except we didn't tax them. We made them our slaves to grow food, mine gold, and build our cities.
Astra elaborated on the industries responsible for emissions. Automobile manufacturers produced vehicles that released greenhouse gases, primarily carbon dioxide, through the combustion of fossil fuels. These emissions contributed to air pollution. Chemical plants release volatile organic compounds, VOCs, carbon-based chemicals that evaporate at room temperature. VOCs contribute to air pollution and can have adverse health effects, including respiratory issues and headaches. Power plants burning fossil fuels, such as coal and natural gas, generate electricity but release large amounts of carbon dioxide and other pollutants into the atmosphere. These emissions contributed to air quality issues. Fluorinated gases, introduced through various industries, are potent greenhouse gases with warming effects up to 23,000 times greater than CO2. These gases found applications in multiple sectors. Refrigeration systems employed them as refrigerants, capitalizing on their excellent heat transfer properties. In semiconductor manufacturing, they played a crucial role in etching processes and as cleaning agents for chemical vapor deposition chambers. The aluminum industry released perfluorocarbons, PFCs, as a byproduct of smelting.
UTU processed the information. That's a lot of man-made pollution, he remarked. Humans found ways to contaminate every aspect of their environment.
Enlil, always analytical and focused on details others might overlook, stated that they also aerosolized particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, and lead. It's like they turned their atmosphere into a toxic soup.
Inanna nodded with her sharp mind, always grasping the bigger picture. Her voice conveyed sarcasm as she said, "Plus mercury from coal plants and all those pesticides and chemicals. It's no wonder the planet's in such a state."
Astra elaborated further. Coal plants were among the worst offenders. Coal was burned to generate electricity and heat homes. However, this process released mercury, a toxic heavy metal, into the atmosphere. Mercury would settle into water bodies, contaminating fish and entering the food chain.
Ninsen reading out loud her wrist's data. Pesticides, herbicides, fungicides.
Pesticides, Enlil explained, are chemicals used in agriculture to kill pests that damage crops. Herbicides target weeds. Fungicides prevent fungal diseases on plants. While effective in increasing crop yields temporarily, their overuse contaminated soil and water supplies. The crew listened as Enlil continued dissecting Earth's environmental history. He described how pollutants were introduced through widespread pesticide use in agriculture, industrial chemical manufacturing, and improper disposal of electronic waste.
Wow, Ninsen exclaimed after a moment of silence. Her adventurous spirit seemed momentarily dampened as she stared at the data before them. It looks like all the bad things they did on Earth ended up in this upper atmosphere.
We've circled this planet 10 times now. It's time we look closer.
Initiating descent to 50,000 feet. His analytical tone tinged with a hint of apprehension. The ship's propulsion cores were so quiet that they only hummed as they descended.
Finally, we might see something extraordinary down there. Her enthusiasm was infectious, causing the more serious crew members to crack small smiles. As they breached the upper atmosphere, the ship's sensors began to receive new data streams.
The contamination levels are off the charts. It's worse than we imagined. Astronauts' data revealed Earth's scarred surface in greater detail. Vast wastelands stretched as far as the eye could see, punctuated by the crumbling remnants of once great cities. Once teeming with millions of people and dominated by towering skyscrapers reaching for the heavens, these cities are now abandoned. The inhabitants had either died in catastrophic events, acts of war, severe weather, environmental pollution, cancers, heart failure, or fled to rural areas in search of survival. As they descended further, the true extent of Earth's devastation became apparent. Toxic clouds swirled around abandoned factories, their corroded shells leaking poisonous effluents into barren soil. Rivers ran with unnatural colors, greens and purples slicked with chemical residues that shimmered ominously under what little sunlight pierced through the haze.
Enlil's eyes remained fixed on Astras's data screens, and his jaw was tight as he absorbed what lay before them. The weight of the ship's secret mission pressed upon him. He knew he couldn't reveal its true purpose to his crew yet.
Those must be the remnants of their power plants.
In 2025, the Earth had over 8 billion Homo sapiens, and now 200 years later, I don't see much signs of life. The crew exchanged glances, sensing the undercurrent of secrets beneath the surface of the ship. The true horror of Earth's fate unfolded before them as they continued their descent. The once blue planet now bore the scars of humanity's hubris, the collateral damage of unanticipated consequences of unchecked progress and environmental neglect.
We've seen enough at this altitude. Prepare for a closer approach. We need to understand what happened here, no matter the cost. The ship plunged deeper into Earth's tortured atmosphere, its crew united in their mission yet divided by the secrets between them. As they descended into the abyss of humanity's folly, the test of their resolve and Enlil's leadership was about to begin.
Chapter 3. Flying in the jet stream. As the alien ship plunged into Earth's lower atmosphere, radiation sensors startled the crew. The holographic display lit up, revealing a planet scarred by nuclear isotopes with decay periods spanning millennia. Uranium-238, 4.5 billion years. Uranium-235, 703.8 million years. Uranium-234, 245,250 years. And Radium-226, 1,600 years. The data streamed on. Plutonium-239, 24,100 years. Plutonium-238, 87.7 years. Cesium-137, 30.2 years. Strontium-90, 28.8 years. Tritium, 12.3 years. Cesium-134, 2.06 years. And Cobalt-57, 271.8 days. Half-life measures how long a radioactive substance takes to lose half its potency. These isotopes decay at vastly different rates, some outlasting civilizations, others fading within days.
Chernobyl, Fukushima, 3 Mile Island. The areas show radiation. Over 2,000 nuclear bomb test sites show radiation, 500 nuclear power plants still show radiation, and it's found in the oceans, icelands, buried underground, in dump areas.
Enlil's fingers flew over the console. His cybernetic enhancements, which gave him an IQ of 240, enabled him to process data at superhuman speeds, allowing his mind to interface seamlessly with the ship's computer systems.
Based on Earth's 180 lines of latitude, we can make 180 circumferential passes. This will provide us with a comprehensive map of the radiation distribution.
But how long will that take? Can't we do a quick scan?
Patience. UTU. Thoroughness is needed here. This should detect any remaining life forms or habitable areas.
I'm activating the contaminant mapping array. We need to locate all pollution hotspots. I'm detecting numerous Superfund sites, brownfields, and RCRA locations. Are those leaking underground storage tanks?
The Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, RCRA, enacted on October 21, 1976, is the primary federal law governing hazardous waste disposal in the U.S. It established a cradle-to-grave system for managing environmental waste.
They didn't do so well on the grave part, did they?
Superfund sites are contaminated areas that require long-term cleanup, often managed by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. EPA oversees these sites, ensuring they are cleaned and safe for future use. Brownfields are contaminated sites where redevelopment is hindered due to pollution. Underground storage tanks can leak dangerous substances into the soil and groundwater.
What kind of toxic substances are we talking about?
Petroleum products, heavy metals, radioactive isotopes, plastics, and other hazardous chemicals leak into water and soil, harming ecosystems and human health.
It's not just the sites. The impact on the environment and human health is staggering. Widespread contamination will take centuries to clean up.
This is worse than war. Earth's poisoned by decades of pollution, chemicals, heavy metals, plastics everywhere.
Factories released volatile organic compounds, VOC, and toxins into air, water, and soil.
Corroded tanks leak underground and underwater.
Satellite data stops at 2025, 200 years ago.
Earth's transmission slowed and ended in 2025. Wars, viruses, population decline, cyber attacks, nuclear leaks, disease, and civil unrest all contributed to the fading of transmissions. Only strong military signals in the 40 gigahertz range reach Nibiru.
Corrosion in underground tanks causes hazardous leaks. Uranium-235, with a half-life of 703.8 million years, and uranium-234, with a half-life of 245,250 years, lie buried underground, underwater, and in buildings worldwide. What were humans thinking?
We must evaluate these areas. They'll be off-limits for future colonies. Earthlings and Anunnaki bodies can't handle this radiation.
700 million years. What drove humans to dig up radioactive minerals at all?
They spoke of progress and growth. But at what cost? How could they risk so many lives, knowing the consequences? No wonder millions died of leukemia and cancer.
Earth's surface is 71% water. Of the remaining land, 20% is contaminated by pollution or radiation, and 40% is arid, leaving humans crowded onto just 3% of the planet where 90% reside.
That's significant. We'll need special clothes and protection to investigate.
Lead bodysuits will shield us from ionizing radiation. These materials absorb and neutralize radiation, offering safety.
Ionizing radiation is energy from atoms that removes tightly bound electrons, creating ions. It harms living tissue.
We won't be using the thin suits NASA claimed to use on Apollo missions to the moon. Those Apollo suits, like the A7L, had just a few layers of mylar, Dacron, and Teflon, with no lead lining, barely enough to stop micrometeoroids, let alone shield against the Van Allen radiation belt, which can deliver a fatal dose in hours. It makes you wonder if anyone could survive that trip, or if those suits would have cooked them alive.
Maybe that's why they hired Stanley Kubrick to simulate the moon landings in a desert studio. He finished 2001, A Space Odyssey, in 1968, just before Apollo 11. And some say NASA needed his special effects to make it look real.
We must be cautious. Exposure to high levels of radiation can cause acute